It's 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV, 5 topics in about 10 minutes for Thursday, December 7th, 2023, 82 years ago today. Pearl Harbor, the day that would live in infamy. Topic number 5 today, Ukraine. Haven't talked about Ukraine much lately, but it is worth noting that Germany's Die Welt newspaper, which is probably the most popular publication in that country, known for its pro-Ukraine stance, published many articles over the past year and a half about how Ukraine's counteroffensive would surely carry the day against Russia, now taking a different tone. A column published yesterday by the paper's chief correspondent, Sasha Lennertz, asking the question, has Kyiv already lost? The article describes Ukraine's military growing increasingly despondent at the state of affairs and points to the fact that Ukraine's commander-in-chief admits that there's a stalemate at the front. Ukraine's top general, Valery Zaluzhny, stated in a recent interview that, as in the First World War, quoting now, "We have reached a technical level that puts us in a stalemate situation," end quote, and says that for Ukraine to actually win against Russia would require a miracle weapon like when China invented gunpowder. That is not forthcoming, especially since Russia is a nuclear power. We're not just not going to see anything like that. Die Welt wrote that growing divisions between the armed forces and the government over the status of the war marks a major turning point. Ukraine is also losing support among other nations in the West. Examples include the elections of Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, Robert Fico in Slovakia, both of whom have ruled out further aid for Ukraine. Italy's Giorgia Meloni admitted in September in an interview that she saw war fatigue. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has already declared the Ukrainian strategy failed, and Die Welt admits, quote, "Everyone knows that, but only Orban dares say it out loud," end quote. In other words, our European allies pretty much concluding that the war between Ukraine and Russia is lost. Now, having said that, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told Congress on Tuesday that if the U.S. doesn't send more money to Ukraine on top of the hundreds of billions already sent, it would be very likely that we'd have to send U.S. soldiers to defend Europe, fight Russia inside Europe, which sounds kind of like a threat or, well, frankly, extortion, if you ask me. Topic number 4, no new chargers. Congress, at the urging of the Biden administration, agreed 2 years ago in the big infrastructure bill to spend $7.5 billion, $7.5 billion to build tens of thousands of electric vehicle charging stations across the country, aiming to appease EV owners while tackling climate change. 2 years later, can you guess how many new EV stations have been built? That many. Politico reports 2 years later, not a single charger has been built. States and the charging industry blame delays on the labyrinth of new contracting and performance requirements they have to navigate to receive federal funds. I learned years ago that whenever possible, we would avoid any deal, well, this is when I was in the steel pipe sales business, any deal that required having to do anything with military specifications or U.S. government specs. I mean, we ran into situations where government specifications actually called for grades of steel that were no longer being produced. I suspect the situation has not changed in the 20 years since. Anyway, Politico claims that in the article that despite this, demand for electric vehicles is increasing in the United States. This is actually observably untrue. Both the Reuters news agency, New York Times reporting within the last few weeks that demand is slowing. While it is up 50% from a year ago, that is far less than was anticipated. The average days on lot for electric vehicles now increasing. Dealers with lots full of EVs that nobody wants, they may already have hit a saturation point where people who can actually use them, people in big cities where you're not that far from a charging station no matter where you are, may already have bought what they plan to buy, whereas those of us who live in rural America where there ain't no chargers, just not inclined to spend the money. On top of this, and this is why you've got car manufacturers and major car dealers begging the Biden administration to slow down on the government push, quit trying to force Americans into EVs. For one thing, on average, they cost 30% more than internal combustion engine vehicles. Secondly, according to Consumer Reports, they are 80% more likely to develop problems Let's see, paying 30% more for a vehicle is 80% more likely to break down? No, thank you. But that's what they're pushing. And this even, not even getting into the fact that the raw materials don't exist to make this transition. The world's supply of, just to pick one element, cobalt, is not enough to meet the demands that are already in law to transition to EVs by 2030 or 2035. It's absolutely ridiculous. There are only 180,000 charging stations for EVs here in the United States. This bill, passed 2 years ago, was to build another 320,000 to bring 500,000 by the year 2030. But again, here in rural America, they're still useless. Topic number 3, the Mouse House. The Walt Disney Company over the past year has been desperately trying to stop Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis from reorganizing the Reedy Creek Improvement District. This is the board designed to oversee Disney's properties there at Disney World. Disney controlled the Reedy Creek Improvement District until DeSantis recently stepped in and put a stop to it. Now, a new report, an audit from the replacement board, has just been published, 81 pages, and it shows that the arrangement Disney had there was even more corrupt than most outside observers thought. The report found that Disney had promised to build services as part of this arrangement, including hospitals, schools, and libraries. Of course, that never happened. But it also described that, according to the report itself, what Disney had accomplished here was essentially the equivalent of an absolute monarchy, without exaggeration, quoting from the report, without exaggeration, a kingdom of yore, end quote. Basically, Disney had a kingdom inside the borders of the state of Florida. And that's only half the problem, according to the report. Employees who worked for Reedy Creek were given complimentary passes and massive discounts by Disney, which meant, of course, that they would then steer the board to doing what Disney wanted them to do. When Reedy Creek employees did pay for their own stuff, their charges would be passed on to the taxpayers of Florida. Taxpayers essentially sending money back to Disney. Disney's tax money going back to Disney. This is the arrangement Disney wanted to continue in Florida, the arrangement that DeSantis has put a stop. The only regulators over control of the massive amount of property on which Disney World sits in Florida, controlled by Disney. Of course, when DeSantis announced his intention to remove this cozy arrangement, DeSantis faced massive amount of criticism in the media, even other Republican politicians, like former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who is now one of DeSantis' opponents to become the next Republican nominee for president, said, "Hey, Disney, come to South Carolina." No, to my family and friends in South Carolina, obviously you don't want these kind of headaches. Topic number 2, official disclosure. Believe it or not, Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer is arguing for the government to disclose what it knows about UFOs, and is blaming Republicans for holding up a bill that's already passed the Senate that would do just that. The Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act of 2023 passed by the Senate in July. The House is holding it up. Chuck Schumer took to the stand Monday in Congress to slam Republicans for pushing back on the legislation. It's not known why Republicans are working against it. Reportedly, Mike Turner of Ohio, Representative Mike Rogers of Alabama, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and House Speaker Mike Johnson among those pushing back on the bill. Schumer has teamed up with Senator Mike Rounds, Republican, to force government disclosure. If this act finally does pass the House, government agencies with records, samples of alien craft, or biological material must hand it over within 300 days. Coming up, very possibly the worst take on the Israel-Hamas war so far. That's next on 5 and 10.
We want to make sure that you're aware of the largest giveaway of the year in the We Are Legion Grand Collection. When you order the We Are Legion Grand Collection from SkywatchTVStore.com, you'll receive We Are Legion for We Are Many, Dominions, Cosmo Craters, and Washington, D.C. Unmasking the Ancient Riddle of the Hebrew Year 5785 and the Eminent Destiny of America by best-selling author Dr. Thomas Horn. Divided We Stand, the globalist scheme for a one-world government by Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, and The Prince of the Power of the Air and the Last Days, Satanology, History, Prophecy, and Technology by Jeffrey W. Martis. But we're just getting started. This must-have collection also includes the breathtaking 2-hour documentary, The Secret Destiny of America, on DVD, featuring Dr. Thomas Horn as he reveals who the God on America's Great Seal and U.S. $1 bill really is, why 72 pentagrams in the Capitol Dome are used to control the ancient cosmocrators who rule the nations, the coming incarnation of Antichrist, and much, much more. But that's not all. With the holidays just around the corner, now's your chance to save big and receive solid bonus merchandise absolutely free. Because also included in the We Are Legion Grand Collection are any number of brand new, super quality, overstock gift books, DVDs, or audio sets to add to your library or to give away as gifts this coming holiday season. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of nearly $150. Yours now for your donation of only $35 plus shipping and handling, so act quickly. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity. This is the largest giveaway of the year, just in time for the holiday gift-giving season, and is available only while supplies last, so don't delay. Visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the We Are Legion Grand Collection now.
Item number 1 today, believe women unless they're Israeli Jews. That seems to be a growing theme on the social media sphere here in the last month or so. Law professor Heidi Matthews at York University in Canada has come up with a new spin on that concept, and this could be the worst take on the Israel-Hamas war to date. She posted to X, formerly Twitter, quote, "Is wartime sexual violence a horrific crime? Yes, with no mistake. But sex exceptionalism is also traditionally used to whip up support for entire military campaigns. We see Israel and the U.S. doing this now to justify a prolonged, disproportionate air and ground war," end quote. Okay, first things first. Sex exceptionalism, as defined by Professor Matthews, is the idea that sex crimes, sexually violating a woman or a child, is a horrific act that is far worse than, say, simple battery or other types of physical violence. Okay, fine. But then she goes on to prove the old saying that everything before the but is BS. Any condemnation of sexual violence against women should never be followed by the word but. But she does it. She condemns the U.S. and Israel for allegedly using the evidence of sexual violence against Israeli women to justify prolonged, disproportionate war. Well, for one thing, disproportionate war is actually the goal of those who wage war. The goal is to inflict disproportionate harm on your enemy. That's what military strategists call victory. But secondly, and more important, is this: what would proportionate war look like in this context? Should the IDF be given a quota of Gazan women that it could sexually violate? Would that be proportionate enough for you, Professor Matthews? This is absolutely despicable. Again, quite possibly the worst take on the Israel-Hamas war to date. Skywatch TV is looking at 2024 and the things that are coming our way, not just the political election cycle here in the United States, but the principalities and powers behind the scenes. 3 new books being offered during this series of programs, which is the last series of programs featuring Dr. Tom Horn. We Are Legion, for We Are Many. Divided We Stand, the new book by Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, and the new book by Jeffrey Martis, Prince of the Power of the Air. Don't miss these programs. You can watch them right now at our website, skywatchtv.com. That's also where you will find our broadcast schedule. If you want to watch over the air, tell your friends about it. You can find when and where to watch the over-the-air broadcast, skywatchtv.com/channels. The program is also available, as well as all of its predecessors in this series, at our Apple TV and Roku channels. You can also watch the program right now at the new YouTube channel for the main Skywatch TV program, at Skywatch TV Now. That's the channel. Rumble.com/SkywatchTV is all of our programs there as well. But best of all, just get our free mobile app. Now, if you've got a relatively recent smart TV, you can cast the video from your mobile device to your TV using Apple's AirPlay or Google's Chromecast. You can also watch it on the device if you don't mind the small screen. But our app, the reason it's important is because it's our app. We won't be canceled from our own app, even if we choose to broadcast something that might violate the community standards of a social media site. So do get the mobile app for your device, whether it's iOS, Android, or Amazon Kindle Fire phone or tablet. We have apps for all of those. And to make it easy to find the right one, we have links to the app stores at skywatchtv.com. You'll find the link in the top menu bar at the website. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.